Yeah. So what do you think it means to be a good man? What? So Marcus, what does it mean to for you to be a man? And what does it mean to you to be a good man? And is that even
Mm.
important?
I like those. I'll start with what does it mean to be a man? I think that type of discovery has been something I've been trying to figure out, honestly, all of my life. Um, I think what really hits home is number one, honesty. Honesty on what you do, what you say, and also how you move. Um, because there's a lot of men that I've been able to see and witness and kind of observe and notice that quite often they would say certain things, but they wouldn't be able to follow up on their actions. And trying to keep as true as you can to the word that you say is very important. I think as well as being able to lead in a way where no matter if there are eyes on you or there are, being able to do as best as possible to seek the positivity in life, but also be able to lead yourself in a way that can create inspiration, can create people to follow. Um, because the first question is so broad, I didn't even want to go fully in depth, but I'm glad that you asked the second question of what does it mean to be a good man? And that to me is something I'm continually trying to define, but I feel as though I'm reaching more and more conclusions as life goes on. So, of course, integrity in your word, being honest with as many things and as many people as possible. When it comes to work ethic, doing your best to rise above whatever is set as kind of the minimum or even just a par, because there's always much more things to do. And like I say in my community, there's stuff to do. No matter if we feel like we are trying to obtain one goal and we have obtained one goal, I make it a very big point to emphasize that in life, we're not trying to strive to perfection. We're trying to strive to completion. If we strive to perfection, then once you're perfect, there's no other goals after that. When you strive to completion, you're able to reflect and see, okay, I did X, Y, and Z great. I have X, Y, and Z to work on. Okay, now let's make a new goal to set that up. So from what I've noticed in my own community and just like even by large, even social media, um, the men that I have seen that have been able to produce um, not just content, but I'd say just produce in life, be able to have an amazing work ethic, have a variety of people surrounding them that are filling their cup and them doing vice versa. I think that is really being a huge component. And I'd say the last thing, and I actually went to a workshop for this. It was a Black Men Don't Cry workshop, and the biggest topic was the idea of service. I didn't think for me service was as big as it was, but not only is that my love language, but I also recognize that it's a humongous thing for us as men to feel the idea of being needed, to be able to serve to a capacity where we not only feel fulfilled, but we also want to make sure the person that we're serving or people that we're serving also feel fulfilled to their capacity and not much more. So when it comes to a good man, it is great to serve. However, on the flip side, and this is something that I'm actually kind of reworking and trying to understand even more, is we can serve as best as possible. However, we need to find a balance to what extent and to what capacity we serve to. Because if we are constantly serving others, then we don't necessarily serve ourselves in the first place. So how can we really be able to offer so much when we can't offer that same type of attention, that same type of care and service to ourselves? So I've gone through periods of being exhausted because I was serving so much. And it also kind of made me question what a good man is supposed to be, just based off of the traditional mindset and the modernized man and so forth. But I'm at this place in time where like I know the difference. I know really what it looks like. And especially living in today's day and age, being able to serve to the capacity that you have the ability to is great. But it's even better when you're able to serve yourself first before you're able to offer anything else.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a full answer. There's so many awesome themes in there. I think some consistencies that I've heard in these discussions is integrity and doing the right thing when no one's looking. as well as honesty and sticking to your words. I love the component of service, and it's not one I've heard very often, but I do feel like I was understanding as you were saying, like that feeling of like fulfillment and being needed is so powerful for an identity, and feeling value. That's such an important one to emphasize. And at the same time, you brought up the counterbalance of you can only serve if you fill yourself up first and make sure there's an element of self-care, that allows you to bring your full self to your community. But I think that can be one guys forget, in that you're feeling like, I'm already busy, I'm already doing a lot, and now you want me to do like serve the community. But sometimes it has the opposite effect, where it can energize you. People need me. I'm doing good. So I think that's a really important one to remember. And there's also an element of time in your answer, where it was like, I've been figuring this out over time. And so where did you learn or develop that perspective on like what a healthy man is? How was that learning process?
Henry, I'm gonna be honest. It's really been ongoing. I'm still in a phase of discovery, and honestly, I don't think I'm ever going to end this phase of discovery. I call myself a student of life always, but I think it's even more important in the aspect of being a man, because I think it was more so in the past few months, I've realized there's been such a huge calling for me to serve. And I didn't shy away from it. I didn't ignore it. I was like, hey, this is what I do. I'm already in the service industry. So I'm a fitness coach, I'm a wellness coach and consultant, as well as a life coach and a Reiki practitioner. So I'm like a couple of things that I'm able to serve in a variety of dynamics. One thing that I really was able to hone in on is the more I was able to put into myself and invest in myself, the better I was able to invest in the community and everybody else by large. The times that I was not able to, I was just exhausted. I was like completely depleted of energy. So I'd say there's been a couple of instances, like when I was younger, I'd say like I was a big track and field athlete, and I was always playing a sport and being really, really in depth with academics. And it was great because it was a nice combo. But I've started to notice kind of a parallel between the academic side, the fitness side / sports side, and then kind of the social life. It was always like a triad. So one of them had to be sacrificed. And if nothing is sacrificed, then it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to be in limbo. I don't really know exactly what to do. So I remember vividly just the time of noticing I was putting all my attention on track and field and academics, and my life thrived. But I noticed that I didn't have as many people that I was able to support or supporting me, because I wasn't able to serve them at the capacity that I potentially could, because I was serving myself. That to me is so pivotal, because that's been repeated so many times in my life, where the majority of the time that I invest into myself and into my career is great, but there's always going to be something that's going to be sacrificed. And at times I feel like subconsciously, and granted, I'm in therapy as well to try and unpack this like fully. But I noticed that in the moments that I'm serving to a very big depth, that it's great, but I haven't, again, as I said, I haven't found that balance between serving to a capacity where it's healthy for myself, but it's also healthy for others. And that's for me where boundaries comes into place. Is I have boundaries on different levels and different scenarios, but it's not streamlined through every single facet of my life. And so that to me is where I was able to lock in on with my therapist that, like, yeah, this has been a repeated pattern since like high school to now. And I'm like, how many years removed from, I'm probably like 10 to like 13 years removed from high school. Like I have a college degree and everything. So to know that I've been in the cycle for all these years, to be honest, is it's disheartening, but at the same time, it's enlightening at the same time. It's disheartening because I'm like, how did I not notice these things? They're like red flags. They're a whole, like a street light or a stop sign. and I'm completely just flying past it. I'm ignoring it. But it also is very enlightening because I'm now at a point where I'm far more self-aware. I'm far more conscious of like, yeah, these moments that I'm serving, I now see how much it does a deal on my own mental health. I know how much it does a deal on my physical health. I need to take a break in terms of like taking a step back and have a bird's eye view of, all right, what type of things am I actually involving myself in? So what capacity am I helping individuals? So what capacity am I helping myself? And now how can I do as best as possible to say no in opportunities of serving and choose myself first in those aspects as often as I can? Because yes, there's going to be feelings hurt, but is that going to do anything to my mental health? It might, but if I'm choosing myself first to have a better life in the future, then why not? Why not grow from that? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think everyone can relate to struggling to balance across different categories of our lives, like self-care and career or school or social. And I think what you have achieved is like an awareness of when the balance might be off, which is, I think, the most important thing, as opposed to like, it's not like you're trying to figure out, okay, I need to put 22% into social. It's just an awareness that like, okay, you know what? Social's like dim right now. It's low. I need to like reignite that. And I think if if guys can incorporate that practice of like checking in with yourself, like where are my balances right now, as opposed to like prescribing like, okay, 22% social, 30% career. Like I don't think that's an effective way. I mean, it just sounds stressful, but like checking in on yourself, like you did, like, okay, I'm putting a lot in sports and academics right now. I don't have enough friends to talk to right now. Let me adjust and balance that. Is an important practice. I'm curious. I always ask when someone brings it up because it's such an important driver for like these conversations and normalizing them. I'm curious how you took the first step into accessing therapy, because that's commonly a big hurdle. Like once you're in the motion, you're talking to your therapist, you're unpacking things, it's awesome. But the first hurdle is key for so many guys. So I'm curious if, how you were able to do that, if you're willing to share.
Yeah, I'm open. I'm definitely open. For me, it was a point of, like I mentioned, like I was noticing cycles happening in my life, and I was reaching a breaking point where I felt like I was in a place already. I've experienced the same thing with a different person at a different time. And for me to have kind of that out of body experience, third person view, um, when I noticed it, I'm like, I just broke down. I just started crying. And I also voiced out loud, why does it feel like I've been here already before at a different time in a different place, but I'm experiencing the same thing? And for me, of course, crying, I mean, as a man, we have this stigma of crying is not healthy, blah, 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 blah. But I am one big supporter, and I encourage like all of my friends, all of the men that I know, like, if you need to cry, if you need to release, please, because you holding it in is not going to do you the justice that you need in order to find whatever else you're supposed to learn after that release. Um, so for me, that moment of noticing that cycle, and it was such a very deep cycle for me, I just legit was like, it's now on all hands on deck. I can't do this again. I can't go through this type of situation and feeling again. It's not doing me the justice that I want. It's not making me feel fulfilled. It's not making me realize that I am going in a great trajectory. But to have this pop up again as things are going well, I'm like, something's triggering it. This trigger is not a good thing because it's as if a fuse is lit and then I don't even know that the fuse is lit. It's just, I'm going in limbo. So once I noticed that, I kid you not, I went right to the internet and went to psychologytoday.com, and I was searching a therapist. And the thing is, for me, therapy wasn't something I was afraid of. I'm going to be honest. it was just something I didn't consider. I was just thinking, I'm just going through life. I'm fine. I'm chill. As a fitness coach, as a wellness coach and consultant, like I have these type of conversations with so many different individuals, and it's great. But I also am under the mindset of, coaches need coaches, therapists need therapists, consultants need consultants. And so for me, I just felt like because I'm in the coach consultant realm, the only way that I could potentially be better for the people that I serve is why would I go back in the past? Why would I try and figure out what's the trigger? Why would I figure out something that I can either stop or understand or at least heal from and be able to share what exactly I did heal from and the step-by-step pieces so that if it does happen again, I know what the triggers are, I know what the flags are, and I also know how to maneuver in a way where I'm not going to repeat the cycle again because I'm far more self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, again, as I said, it wasn't something I was afraid of. It was just that I felt like it took that point for me to go to therapy. I don't think if I didn't have that situation, I don't think therapy would have been in my line of sight. And it's not a bad thing, but I'm a student of life, as I mentioned, and I want to learn as best as I can about myself. I love to be introspective. So if I'm going to have somebody else to help me be that much more introspective, why not? Because it's only going to make me a better person at the end of the day. It's going to only make me feel way more at peace on a regular basis, and I'll be able to serve at a capacity that I didn't think of before. Because I am actually serving at a very different capacity. I'm way more mellow and way more at peace because I've been able to unpack the things that are more on the subconscious level than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's such a good data point to collect, where the indicator was like a repeated cycle, and that you noticed it, and that was like the call out to like, okay, if I keep doing this on my own, I have clear evidence of a cycle, and it might happen again and interrupt my life. And so you went online and you found a therapist. And I also, the framing of like self-improvement, I also think can be really helpful to get guys over the initial hurdle. Whereas like, this is gonna, as like a student of life or someone who wants to learn, this is a piece of learning. And I think other avenues of self-improvement are more accessible and accepted. Like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym and improve my physical health. That makes perfect sense, and people are fine with that. But going to talking to a therapist and to improve your mental health is less of a clear bridge. And so framing it as self-improvement, like, okay, I'm going to be more healthy myself, which will allow me to be a better coach, which is like a career benefit, or my own like peace of mind. I think tangibly ascribing some benefits can help get over the initial hurdle as well. So that's an awesome data point to collect. And I think that indicator of a repetitive cycle is something that can like transcend different stories, because it doesn't matter what the content is. If you find yourself in a rut, like everyone can relate to, wait a minute, this has happened before, and I need some outside help to break out of a loop. So that's really useful to share your experience in getting over that hurdle of like the first initial contact. And so another thing, as we're coming up on our half hour, and I don't want to steal too much of your time, what I've been doing, because everyone has such different backgrounds and perspectives, and I want to make sure that there's an opportunity to cover things outside of like our under the hood couple of core questions. If there's anything that is on your mind or want to share, either about your work or background or whatever, good books you read, like any, just kind of opening the floor. It doesn't need to be some presidential speech, but if there's anything you want to share with our community or me, I always try and leave a couple minutes at the end. And if not, no worries, but that's what the last couple minutes are for.
Absolutely. I think one thing that I do, and I like to emphasize, and I've been emphasizing it since I've started my own business, is this phrase that I created, which is your body's your first gym. I think that phrase speaks magnitudes on so many different levels of exactly how we kind of navigate life. And the way I usually say it is your body's your first gym. The more you understand it, the better you can move in time and space. And so looking at how your body works, not only as a physical thing, but also as a mental thing, that's a bigger reason why I went to therapy too, is I'm working so much on my physical. I know when it comes to sets and reps and feeling good and blah, 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 blah. Like I know my body's going to transition and I'm putting in that work and having that type of resistance and I'm having that type of challenge. However, mentally, as much as I'm reading books and so forth, I wasn't at a component or I wasn't at a level where I'm being challenged to think about what is happening inside. I'm not being challenged to kind of rewire my brain or make sense of certain dots that I didn't know were disconnected in order to make them connected. So I would like to just continually emphasize it's not only just about my business and my phrase, but for people to kind of, as you were mentioning earlier, what I say is take a pause. You taking a pause, like in the middle of your day, in the middle of a moment, to focus on your breathing, to focus on exactly what is happening in the moment and being present, and doing a pulse check. We know pulse checks are basically checking your heart. But for me, the way I use that terminology is you're checking your entire body, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything. Because those moments that you are present, they cannot be taken away. Because those are moments that you can grow from. And you can actually have a lot of like introspective, amazing moments by just taking a second to pause and having a pulse check for yourself. Because life moves way, way, way too fast in the first place. So to be able to check in with yourself, have a pause and a pulse check, it only is going to benefit you in the long run. And doing that as often as possible, again, is only going to save your mental health in the first place. And you'll be able to serve at a better capacity, not only for others, but the most important for yourself.
Yeah, no, those frequent check-ins are so helpful, kind of for checking and catching those indicators that you brought up, either a loop or a potential area of improvement for your own mental health. Like you said, life moves so fast that if you don't stop to check in, you can kind of skim the surface for many, many years. And so it's just an important reminder to pause, check in, pulse check in with your heart, body, mind. Is such good reminders. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and perspective. I really appreciate it. And I would love to continue the conversation. I mean, we could have a whole nother talk about like starting a business or like holistic health. I've done some Reiki sessions that I've really enjoyed. So I'd love to continue the conversation at some point. It's just an intro, and thank you so much for contributing your voice amongst the others. Like I said, every data point we get, someone is going to resonate. Someone's going to resonate with it, and just the more the better. And I think it does take like a little bit to dig into the meat of it, and there isn't a lot of longer form content online, which is why I like the kind of half-hour time, like we actually get to talk and meet and dig into stuff, and then you can take like a shorter clip. I don't know if everyone's going to watch half an hour of us chatting, but it's at least it gives us a chance to like really dig in, and I'd love to do it again. But I will let you go on this Monday afternoon, and it's really awesome to meet you, and hope we stay in touch.
Absolutely, Henry. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All righty. Have a good rest of the day.
You as well. See you.
Bye. Yeah. So what do you think it means to be a good man?
I don't think there's a single definition.
Things that make up a good man are just the things that make up a good person. Someone who's honest, someone who's decent.
you're also willing to express yourself in a healthy way, and you're in touch with your emotions as well.